I thank my elbow who have introduced me. I come here for further introduction and be able to mention to you the difficulties we go through as a nation. Whatever I'm going to say here is already known to all of you, but for the sake of our meeting, it's good that I repeat them. We live in a country today where all you hear is bad news. There's no good news about Nigeria any longer. If you wake up every morning, all you hear is killing, kidnapping, one form of banditry or the other. Nobody hears good news about Nigeria. If you wake up every morning in Nigeria, families don't wake up without knowing where the next meal will come from. The young ones are not working because there's no job. And everybody is working. How did we get here? What is happening here? I just came to Lokoja this morning. Of course, I could see the level of infrastructure on the federal road. I could imagine the level of infrastructure on the local roads. And I wonder, how did these people get here? So you could see there's nothing to celebrate anywhere in our country any longer. The question is, how did we get here? What you're seeing is cumulative effect of leadership failure over the years. Over the years, rather than Nigeria getting better, it is getting worse. And we've reached a difficult stage. Today in your country, there's over 100 million people living in poverty. No other country on earth has that number of people living in poverty. No other country, except Nigeria. Not even the big ones like China or India or this. In fact, we have more people living in poverty than when you even combine them. Our unemployment is one of the highest. It's actually the highest when you put the numbers. Because South Africa, that is rated as being higher than us, have lesser population. Because while they have about 40% unemployment, when combined with underemployment, it is about 60% in South Africa. But imagine that South Africa is a country with about 60 million population. If they have 36 million unemployment and unemployment, that means their number is just about 36 million for under and unemployment. We're using the overall population. But if you use the population of people who are supposed to be working in South Africa, you'll find out that 60% of your population is supposed to be working. And if they have 60% unemployment, it should actually be just about 20 million. But in Nigeria, you have a similar situation, but because you have 200 million population, people who are supposed to be working is 120 million. And today, the number of people working is just about 40 million. So you have almost 80 million people who are supposed to be productive that are not productive. And what is worse, the number that is higher in this population are the young ones. So you have your young ones in their productive age doing nothing. So you must look at it. Our drug prevalence is very high. The average is 5.8%. Ours is 14%. In all this, I'm telling you all this bad news, out of school children of over 15 million, in all this, we don't even have the resources. We're not borrowing money, Chairman, every day. To the extent that we now use over 90% of our revenue to service debts. And we are borrowing more. Your country is now has a debt situation that is very difficult to manage. When Obasanjo left government, he cleared all the debts owed in dollars, leaving only about $2 billion for multinational debts. The total debt when Obasanjo left office was 3 trillion. Today your country is owing 58 trillion. From 3 to 58. And when you ask what did they use this debt to do, they will tell you it is for capital projects. Where is the capital project? I drove on one of the capital projects this morning, from Abuja to here. Abuja to here, for a trip of 2 hours, cannot be more than maximum 200 or thereabout kilometers, if I'm right. And if you're going to do a 200 kilometers of road today, in terms of construction, I do not think Abuja to here will cost us more than maximum, maybe 200 billion naira, and even exaggerating. To our total debt, new monies borrowed from Obasanjo's time is 55 trillion. %10 of 55 trillion is 5.5 trillion. 1% is 550 billion. 0.01% is 5 billion. So if you decide to reconstruct this road and make it better, you don't need more than 2% of the amount of our debt. Are you saying that Abuja to Kogi should not earn 2% of this debt we're talking, if it's actually meant for, considering the importance of Kogi to Nigeria in terms of revamping our Jakarta scale, in terms of agriculture? So it was consumed. It was never used for capital project. The consequence is why we're paying huge debt in servicing it today. Chairman, last year, first 5 months of last year, we earned 1,847 billion naira as revenue. We used 1,802 to service debt, not repayment, 98%. And the situation is worsening. The reason is that the money you borrowed was not invested. When you borrow money for consumption, you are in trouble. That's why Nigeria is in trouble, because it borrowed for consumption, not for investment. Every nation of the world that has invested money, it was better. Today, because of insecurity, Nigerians can't go to farm. We can't go to a farm. The government can no longer support production of anything. If you do, we can't feed ourselves. We're importing food. Countries after countries have been able to support the activities. So everywhere you go, people say, what are you going to do with insecurity? How are you going to fight insecurity? How are you going to fight education? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do this? I said, we have enough in a good government to fight insecurity. You fight insecurity with two things. Number one is that there's a content, what you call natural security. Natural security is that people must have a means of livelihood. You must pull people out of poverty. They must be doing something. If someone doesn't know where the next meal will come from, it is a crisis. So they must have a means of livelihood. That is how it works. They must have a means of livelihood. You must help. And I'm talking about the younger ones. Today, parents pay their children's school fees. When they finish, their children are home and they're feeding them. These young ones must have a job. We must give them a job. We must provide them with jobs. They are the engine of growth of the nation. So we must support them. People can say, what are we going to do in Kogi? Look at Kogi. Look at the banks of the Niger. We're importing rice. This country is importing rice. With what I saw this morning. Vietnam, as a country, was one of the biggest rice importers. Vietnam took a decision. We are no longer going to import rice. We are going to cultivate rice. Today, Vietnam is one of the biggest rice exporters. In April, just last month, Vietnam exported rice of more than $300 million. $300 million today is about 170 billion naira, which is more than the budget of Kogi State. We have this. And all the young people in Vietnam are working in the rice field. If you're going to Vietnam now, your plane is landing, you would think you're going to land in the rice field. Because here and here, are rice mills all over the place. Nigeria built a facility here that would have been the engine of turnaround of technology and technical things in Nigeria, Ajokuta Steel. Where is it today? Shagari and his father Kwame, they sacrificed to build it. It was planned to be one of the engines of revolution that will turn around the country. It is only comatose. Successive governments have told us they will resuscitate it. It's all grammar. Nobody. That facility alone, functional, with other surrounding small facilities, can contribute a lot to Kogi in terms of employment, in terms of revenue, in terms of everything. What is that? You live virtually in banks of cement all over the place. I can go on and on. So this is a state that ordinarily should be part of the engine of growth of Nigeria. To stay, one of the best things that happens to a business is when you stay on what you call roots. Kogi is a market because it's a drive-through. But with this security, nobody even wants to stop. Nobody's even sure what to do. So I can go on and tell you what things are. All this is happening because we don't have a purposeful government that can say we are going to resuscitate this facility and go about the monies we've borrowed. If we find a good partner and support them with a little amount of money, they will resuscitate there. But we borrowed it for consumption. I was in Bauchi 2 days ago, and I went to the tomb of Tafa Belawa to pray. And I told people, when I look at the sacrifice they did in the 60s, him and the leaders of Nigeria then, Look at the sacrifice. Even up to Shagari and the Kuamedi. And look at what is happening to us today. Ask myself, how did we get here? Under Tafa Barrow, Nigeria borrowed the first loan, $82 million to build Kainji Dam. It was documented. It was written. He said, I'm borrowing this money in order to build a facility to generate 760 megawatts of electricity to spur industrial growth in my country, economic growth in my country. Imagine if Nigeria had been borrowing since then and investing it properly in power. Today, your country, a country of 200 million people, is generating only 4,000 megawatts of electricity. When Tafa Balewa built what will generate about 1,058 years ago. So what you're saying that from that 58 years ago to today, the only increase we have been able to do is about 3,000. And we are giant of Africa. #1 country in Africa with 200 million people. #2 country in Africa, 60 million in South Africa. They are generating 54,000 megawatts. We are generating, so they are generating 50,000 more than we are generating. #3 biggest country in Africa is Egypt, 100 million. They are generating 55,000. In fact, Egypt only added from 2015 to 2021, it doubled its own 127, added another 28 to bring it to 50 something. With investing less than 10% of the money we borrowed within this period, because we borrowed about 100 billion now, they invested only $10 billion to double that. You are a giant of Africa. Because we are doing what? Consumption. The only thing you hear here in this country is sharing formula. Nobody have ever talked about production formula. It is sharing. Everybody wants to share. And what are we sharing? We are sharing oil money, 18 billion. It's gone down to even 15 billion, which is absolutely nothing compared to anything. A country of 200 million people. Countries without oil are making more money, more income in terms of foreign exchange. Last year, we are getting 15 million from oil. Vietnam exported from footwear 25 billion worth of goods. Just shoes. Just what people wear on their foot. Nigeria is earning 15 billion from oil. They export from clothing, $17 billion. Garments. We are taking 15 billion from oil. These are not sophisticated things. These are not what Nigerians can do. These are not what our youth can do. These are not what our women can do. Bangladesh is exporting 36 billion worth of garments. I was there in 2010, and I went there to look at what they're doing. 60% of the people doing the garments are women who are in villages like this, sewing garments for export. And they earn more than twice what we earn from oil from doing those garments. Nigeria is a country where nobody wants to support anybody. Our women are not working. Our young people are not working. The entire country is unproductive. It is only consumption, consumption, consumption. I want to move this country from consumption to production. If we make it that, it will accommodate all of us. There's nothing wrong in borrowing. We are going to borrow money. Nigeria will borrow money, but Nigeria will invest it. I just gave you an example of Bangladesh. When I was in Bangladesh in 2010, the debt of Bangladesh is 45 billion. Their debt, they were owing borrowed money, $45 billion. As at that time, Nigeria was owing 30. Their GDP then was $115 billion. Their per capita, which you used to measure the real wealth of the nation, was $747 in 2010. Ours then was $375 billion with a per capita of $2,250. So our per capita, which is a measure of wealth, was 3 times that of Bangladesh in 2010. Today, Bangladesh GDP is 340 billion. They've grown 3 times. Their debt equally have grown 3 times. But because their GDP is higher, while it was 36% in 2010, their debt now is under 36%. Their per capita now is $2,050. 3 times. In our own, our debt has increased from 30 to $120 billion. Our per capita is now $2,000. So we lost 11% of our value in 2010. And we're a country. We're throwing more and more people into poverty. This shows that borrowing is not our problem. You can borrow money. Every country of the world is owing money. Every country you know in this world is owing money. America, we used to celebrate today, they're owing money. America owes nearly 100% of its GDP as debt. China, the second biggest economy, owes over 50% of their GDP as debt. Japan, the third biggest economy, is owing 230% of their GDP as debt. So everybody borrows money and everybody owes. No country of the world have I studied that is not owing. Egypt, that I mentioned now, is owing about 80% of its GDP. So is other countries. I was in Morocco recently. Morocco exported last year without oil over 40 space than Netherlands. They can't feed themselves. They can't feed Nigeria. They don't have anything for export. Netherlands has only 33,000 square kilometers of land minus water. And last year they did export of 120 billion worth of agricultural goods. Nigeria is unproductive. I was in Taraba yesterday, and I showed them that just not far away from us, in Kenya, that Kenya did export of flour of nearly $500 million. Young people that pick flour are paid $100, which is 60,000 naira. A minimum wage is 30. So they earn twice for picking flour. I showed them what we did Ethiopia. This is a third world country. Ethiopia earned last year from export of coffee $905 million. Taraba can grow coffee. They are not growing coffee. I told them in tea, they can grow tea. Taraba and Plateau can grow tea. Sierra Leone can earn $1.4 billion from growing tea. So you could see our nations and nations all over the place are making money from things that are available for us to free. We are not doing it. The only thing we are doing is sharing, consumption, no production, no productivity, nobody cares. My dear delegates, I'm only here to plead with you. Nigeria is at a turning point. Anarchy consumes everybody. The two major yardsticks of a fair state is when your state when you are no longer in control of your territory. We are no longer in control of our territory. Today, it is difficult to travel around Nigeria. It is difficult to move around in the north. All you hear about Kogi is bad news. All you hear about Nigeria is bad news. There's nothing to celebrate. The second is when you are not in control of your economy. We are no longer in control of our economy. Our children at home, nothing is happening. So delegates, I came to plead with you. You cannot be delegate forever. Even if you are forever, when you go, your children will not inherit your position as delegate. I was once a governor. I told you about how I govern. We can no longer continue the way we are going. Our level of consumption, our level of rascality is unacceptable. We are going to cut the cost of governance. We are going to make things work. So delegates, I'm pleading with you. You will be part of changing this country. People are going to come and give you a lot of money. Please take it because you need money now. Everybody needs money. Now, it's difficult. So if anybody comes and gives you money, take it. It's probably your money. They didn't print any money. So whenever anybody comes, listen to the person. Listen to his introduction, who he is. How did he govern? Where is he coming from? If he says he's a businessman like me, who is a trader, where is he trading? What is he trading? Can we verify? If he says he has been a corporate person, let's go to the corporations where he's involved. If he was a former governor, let's ask questions. How the former governor performed. He's told you now that I left money. That's what he told you. Yes. When I left office, I was governor of Anambra State from 2006 to 2014. And the day I left, as I invited you people now, is where I invited everybody in Anambra State. All our traditional rulers, all our representatives of our communities. And I told them that I'm going today. When I came, I met 35 billion gratuities. Nobody is being owed gratuity the day I left office. Nobody was owed pension. Nobody was owed salary. And we were not owing any contract to any supplier. Pension and gratuity, I was more particular. And I say it every day. It is criminal to owe old people when they are in their difficult age and they have less opportunity. So they must be paid the entitlement. I went beyond paying those who are entitled. You can go and ask in Anambra State. Everybody that was over 70 years in the village, I was paying them 5,000 naira as governor. I was paying coppers, additional 4,000. It's recorded, is that? Also for our support. Schools were resuscitated, they were functional, they were working. And on the day I left, I still invited MDs of 3 banks. Access, Diamond and Fidelity Bank. There are banks in Nigeria. And I called their MDs. In Access and Fidelity Bank, anyone I called, the MD stood up. In Access, I had, Anambra State had $50 million, 12 billion naira. In Diamond Bank, we had $50 million, because we were saving in dollars and naira, 12 billion naira. And in Fidelity, we had $56 million, 12 billion naira. Now was what came to 75 billion, and we handed it over to the incoming person. And left. Since I left Anambra State, Anambra has not bought me pure water. Because I said I cancelled it. There's no gratuity, there's no pension, nothing for the governor. If you finish, you go home. And that has been the case. So, my dear people, in conclusion, when you go to vote, please, if you are giving money, collect it. I said it again. If anybody gives you anything, collect it. But when you cast your vote, do not look at any of us. Please take the picture of your children, your child. Look at it and ask yourself, which society do I want these children to live in? Do I want to live in fear? Do I want them to live waking up every day, not knowing they will go to bed? Do I want them to live where they will be kidnapped? Do I want them to live in a society where they will not have job, they will not have means of livelihood? Do I want to live in a society where there will be no infrastructure, where they have no opportunity? Do I want them to live in a sense of hopelessness, or do I want them to live in a sense of hope? That should be your determining factor. That should be what you'll be asking yourself. We want to move the country from hopelessness to hope. A country is driven by hope. We want your children, you want your children to have hope, to feel that they are Nigerian. Young ones today don't feel they are Nigerians because their country never cared for them. We want a country that will care for your children. Look at it when you vote, so we can change this country. The society all of us are abusing today will take its revenge on our children, on our grandchildren. God bless you.